Just want to thank you for joining us today at Music Choice. And first off, just we're 3 months into this quarantine. How have you been holding up during this time?
It's been an up and down thing, man. A up and down thing. The week before quarantine, actually, everything locked down. Two very, very dramatic things happened in my life. One more so than the other by far means. I lost my grandfather,
Sorry.
and the blessing within that though is we actually had a chance to bury him. My grandmother, she set the funeral up very quickly, and a few of the family members were like, "Damn, we ain't even got time to this and that." But my grandmother's very, very close to God, and we buried my grandfather, and I think it was about 5 or 6 days later, the world shut down, and in that case, we wouldn't have been able to have a funeral. So I saw the beauty within that. It was a beautiful thing. I laid him down to rest. My he had a chance to meet and enjoy my son. My father and I became closer. And then the week after that, we actually had a video set up. We had a photo shoot set up for an album, and we were about to start the album rollout. So in the beginning, I was very much kind of down and just in a sad place. Not even really all the way sad, just somber and melancholy, like not knowing what would come next. And as the days passed, I would find different things to do with my time. And it went from, just watching Netflix and what documentary, what movie I could watch, what series I could watch to this is not very productive. To I'm playing PlayStation with with my cousin and my brothers across the nation. Okay, this was fun for a second. I probably should work out. I'm just sitting around eating a lot. So I started working out, and then I started getting into the studio, and then I started getting into this creative space where after I had dealt with the fact that the world was on pause, I'm like, wait a minute, the world's paused. You can do whatever you need to do within this time and be prepared on the other side of it versus thinking like, damn, what am I going to do? So it's been very enlightening. I think I've had to deal with issues that I would not have dealt with had the world just kept moving along. I think racism is something that would not be being dealt with the way it is now had it not been for COVID. Had the world not been paused in some way, shape, or form, people not been out of jobs, kids not going to school, so many different things faced America to deal with this issue head on, like so many of us had to do in our personal lives. So I think it's awoken something in me. I think it's given me more clarity on what's important in life, and I think it's challenged me just as a person.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's challenged me as well, especially with the racism. I think in the past it was easy to distract yourself and kind of shut it off and not think
Mm-hmm.
about it. But now it's like it's in your face. You don't have sports. You don't have the activities that you
Exactly.
could have. So it's like you kind of have to deal with it and have to like face the uncomfortable
Right.
conversations and
It's so many things that would have been able to deter if George Floyd would have got killed that same way when the NBA was open, the baseball league was open. You got you know what I mean. All of those distractions would have been able to take us away from it, but. It's a perfect storm, whereas though we have to deal with it, and people that weren't really aware or turned a blind eye and didn't want to be aware because it didn't affect them are now stepping up because it's like, oh wow, this is really happening all the time. You know what I mean?
and you released a song how many times, and it's such a powerful song, especially with everything going on. And I just
Thank you.
wanted to give you an open platform to talk about like what the song meant to you and just like what was going through your mind when you went into the studio to record it. Obviously, it was a quick turnaround, so it was raw and emotional when you went into the studio.
Definitely. Well, firstly, Ron, it wasn't easy to do. It wasn't easy to sing. It wasn't easy to say. The words came easy because I felt it before, and I felt it like I'm a young black man. Like I've had encounters with the police where I was wronged. Uh, I know many men that have. I've seen all these videos. I'm very well educated on most of the unarmed murders of black men. Uh, And it was just boiling inside me. I was angry, I was sad, I was confused, I was hurt. I wanted to do something. I wanted to say something. I couldn't sleep. Uh, and it just was a song that I felt so many people needed a voice to speak for what they were feeling, like a song of now, like, because there's so many songs that are addressing this, right? So many from Civil War to now, you know what I mean? But right now in this moment, I wanted words that matched what my grandfather felt, what his grandfather felt, what his father felt, what my grandmother knows to be true, like having conversations with people that have lived that, because this is not long ago that people were slaves, you know what I mean? Like my grandmother's grandmother was a slave, you know what I mean? So playing that, listening, watching her, like, because my uncle sent me a video of him listening to the song of my grandmother, and she just shed tears and she just was shaking her head. And it felt good to be able to bring words to even how she feels and feelings that she's tucked away. You know what I mean? That I know, like, that if I feel this pain, you imagine somebody that's been here much longer than you or myself, that sees these things happening right now today, that has to bury that pain and go on with their day. You know what I mean? Because that's what most people have to do. They have to bury that pain, that hurt, that psychological trauma, that feeling within them. They have to bury that and go along with their day and get whatever needs to be done to take care of their family. So I think it's a song that we just needed, and it wasn't even me really. It was God speaking through me, channeling what needed to be said, and I was just happy I could be that voice.
Yeah, I definitely, like, even when I first heard it, I definitely got emotional myself listening to it. Like, even though I might not have personally experienced it, like, just knowing people and seeing what's going on, it's like like, whether you're black or not, you can definitely feel it.
That's the aspect of humanity, Ron, that I feel that we're tapping into that we sometimes hadn't seen much of. Like, when the unaffected speak for the affected, that's when there's true change. When the people that don't have to worry about ever encountering this speak as though they are, that's when change comes. And we're seeing a lot of that now today. So I'm excited about these times just as much as they are scary times. It's very exciting to see people sticking together, to see people that, a couple years ago wouldn't have been out there in the streets marching. You know, people are understanding and coming to light. And I love, more so than anything, people that are willing to let their guard down of not knowing, like, because people don't know everything. Like, even myself, I don't know everything there is to know about this. But of course, if you walk a different light, if you live in the suburbs your whole life and you don't interact with police in the same way, you're not going to know. But for you to speak out against it as if it's not happening, which is what would happen in a lot of cases before that, is less of that happening. You know, people speaking out, well, what happened before the video? Well, if he wouldn't resist, well, these are not reasons for taking life. And I think that's what everybody needs to come to realize, is that black people's lives are being taken for reasons that white lives would not be taken for.
Exactly.
Cops have been given this rite of passage where we believe them regardless. And people like me and you know not to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but the truth of the matter is, to a white person, a cop does, in most cases, protect and serve. They don't view them as a threat. So you don't encounter them in the way that we do. So, like I said, it's all about speaking out and educating people on it. And those who aren't willing to have conversations and aren't willing to be educated about it and have this biased view of all cops being good has no education on American history.
And I know you're hosting the Black Lives Matter weekend this weekend in Virginia. Just any information you'd like to give our viewers?
This upcoming weekend, June 19th through June 21st, the Robert E. Lee statue that's in Richmond, Virginia is being taken down very soon. Statue has been up years after the Civil War. You know what I mean? So when people say these are symbolisms of pride and symbolism of Americanism, that's not true. Those statues were placed up years after the Civil War to specifically show hate. So to stand up as a symbolism of strength, we will strength, unity, and peace. We're gonna have a candlelight vigil out there Friday night. Saturday in my hometown of Petersburg, Virginia. We'll be feeding as many families as we can. And shout out to Pusha T, man, who actually started this Feed Your City challenge that sparked this whole thing up in my mind. He's a good friend of mine, and he had a Feed Your City challenge where he fed, I don't know how many people, but it was so many people, man, just coming through and getting things that things that are necessities for the household that are hard to come by now if you've only gotten a $1,200 stimulus check and you out of a job and you got kids at home, you know. So that's day 2. Sunday, we have a Father's Day bike ride. I did a bike ride protest out here in LA with my friend Carver threw together, and Usher came out there, and it was one of the most fun things I hadn't ridden a bike in years, but it was one of the most fun things I had done in a very long time, and it inspired and promoted health. So I want to promote health amongst Black communities, amongst Black fathers, and I want to celebrate all fathers from all walks of life, as fathers are very important. As I've become a father and the more I learn, the more I want to educate people about what I know, what the experiences is for me, and, you know, celebrate fathers as much as I can.
Definitely, and happy early Father's Day. I know your son just turned a year old. Like, what is that first year of what's that first year of fatherhood been like for you?
Man, it's been crazy. He's super smart and super advanced. Like, he started walking at 8 months, and he said Dad died for the first time on Christmas. He's incredible. Like, just he has his little moods. Like, and I laugh because it's like, wow, you got an attitude already. Yeah. But he's happy. He's funny. It's just amazing watching a little person, man, become the person that they're going to be, watching a personality develop, and just to see the joy that he brings, like to see the purities within a child. Mm-hmm. It like I said, it's awakening something in me. Like, it makes me aspire for different things. Different things are important to me now that weren't before. So shout out to all the fathers once again, man. This is a Father's Day special. What I can say is that to all the fathers out there, especially the young ones, young Black ones, I had very much a grudge in my heart with my pops. My pops had me when he was 17. My mother was 17 as well. And he was there for a short amount of time, but he got caught up in drugs and all other type of things. And it made it difficult to be there for me. I'm 35 years old and I have a 1-year-old. So to imagine being half my age and having a child and how hard that would have been and how much stress that would have been. Even though my mother was able to do it, I forgave him. You know what I mean? So young cats out there, I know if you got a child, it's a lot to deal with, but that's your blood and that's your responsibility. And it's going to make you a better person to be involved. So try your hardest to be the best father you could be. That's that's for all the young fathers, all the fathers of all ages. I know it ain't an easy task, but try to be the best example you can be for that little person that's dependent on you.
Definitely. And you showed your son's first birthday on the Back Home video. Just what inspired the video and the song? And
well, yeah, man. Like I said, we had a whole rollout plan and a different video shoot planned. And my fans have been very, very, very ready for music even before this occurred. So I wanted to get them music, but I didn't want to be ingenuine to the times. Disingenuous. I didn't want to release music that didn't relate to what was happening. So with the song being entitled Back Home, and knowing that his birthday, not knowing how long quarantine would last, I knew his birthday was coming up. It had been a month and a half. We were on quarantine. And I was like, man, I don't care about no quarantine. It's my baby turning 1. Like, I'm not missing it. You know what I mean? And we had the idea to get a camcorder and record me going back home. And this was after we already had another video planned. The video before this, because it's 2 videos to Back Home. One video was just, I called on my friends and family to just send me videos of what they doing while they at home. How are you enjoying yourself? How are you staying positive? How are you going through and growing through this time? So we got this compilation that was just very inspirational, and it showed like a lot of love, and it was uplifting. You see people from so many different walks of life, from Megan Thee Stallion to 50 Cent to my mother to my grandmother. You know what I mean? Just to show everybody is like in this predicament. And then on top of that, I shot the video on a video camera of me actually coming home, back home to Noah's first birthday. And I wanted this to be like a time capsule thing where people look back and like, wow, you remember that was back in 2020, everybody was quarantined. And then my son, like, listen, this is your first birthday party. Like, you couldn't have people there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a crazy story to tell.
Definitely. I know you mentioned you were like preparing another single and an album. Is there an album in the works at this time, or is that kind of been put on hold?
I got probably 3 albums worth of material in the can that I'm really excited about. I sometimes go on Instagram and I just preview music because I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know when it's gonna come out. Like I said, I don't want to be insensitive to this moment. I think nothing's more important than. That's why I made it how many times, because I think nothing's more important than what's speaking to the times right now. But I also know that people need a sense of normalcy to continue and to push through, to keep the movement strong and keep themselves inspired. So I'm just in the time right now where I'm very organically letting what I think should happen, not rushing anything. But I am steadily making music. I am very much excited about the music I have. It's determining when what the timetables will be, what comes out and when.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
My boy.
And what's the first thing you want to do, like once this quarantine is over and things get back to normal?
Man, I want to go to me a nice restaurant, have me a nice glass of wine, hear some ambient music. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to do too much. I just want a nice, regular sense of vibe. I want a waiter to come and ask me what kind of water I want. I want a butterfly steak, man.
Nice. And any final words of just like inspiration for our viewers out there before we let you go?
Hey, man, just stay positive. This is tough and trying times. The thing about this is in any tunnel that you walk through, it's going to be dark when you're in there, but it's going to be light when you're trying to get to that other side. So we just got to keep pushing through till we get to the other side of the tunnel. And in the dark, you don't know what's going to come about, but you know it's light on the other side if you do make it through. So stay positive, stay on your ones and twos, challenge yourself, stay productive, be creative. And this is a great time to get to know yourself. Great time to get to know yourself and know and value who's important to you and who you're important to. Cherish them people.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate everything, and hopefully once this is all over, I'll see you in the studio in New York.
Shout out, Ron.
All right.
Love, brother.
Thank you so much.